We've met representatives from across the north this morning. We've had a meeting. I have to say the major focus has been the cost of living. There is absolutely no doubt that families are increasingly under pressure. We know there's been an announcement of a very substantial energy price hike, and we fear that this is not the end of it, far from it, that we will see further hikes and increases. And of course it's essential that interventions are made to support families, to support communities at this time. It has to be said that the DUP walking away from the executive, scuppering the 3-year budget, has added to the huge difficulties that we face. It has meant that Conor Murphy, as Minister for Finance, has £300 million that now cannot be spent by the executive. So that's where we stand, but the reality is that we do need interventions to support families at this time.
Conor Murphy, as the Finance Minister, has exhausted legally all options that are open to him, because the real life consequences of the DUP walking away and collapsing the executive is the reality that we can't agree a 3-year budget, is the reality that at the time whenever families are really struggling, whenever families are having to make choices between heating, lighting, food on their table, at a time whenever people are facing all of that the DUP have walked away, and we are not able to allocate £300 million of funding that could actually be right in the pockets of workers and families at this difficult time. This is the real life outworking of the DUP's walking away. We have tried to find ways around doing things, to try and find ways to go around the politicking of the DUP. We have found a way to deliver an apology to victims of historical institutional abuse. We have found a way to do many things. Our ministers, Deirdre Hargey, just this week announcing that £200 will be paid out to many workers and families who are struggling right now. So we have found ways to go around things, but there are legal impediments, particularly in relation to the budget. So the DUP's actions mean that we legally do not have an ability to agree a 3-year budget in which the lion's share would have went to tackling the health situation, the fact that we have growing waiting lists, the fact that we have so many people waiting for treatment and can't access that treatment. These are the consequences, unfortunately, of the DUP's actions.
Well, as Michelle has set out, we shouldn't be in this position, and the best body to intervene to protect families and workers here is, of course, the executive and the team of ministers. The DUP have robbed us of that opportunity, and they need to take responsibility for that. So failing that, the British government and the British Exchequer needs to intervene. I mean, I'm very conscious that things like windfall taxes, VAT receipts, all of these need to be looked at and need to be distributed to support families and workers at this time. We are facing an unprecedented convergence of events. Energy prices were rising anyway because of global inflationary pressures, and now tragically, disgracefully, we have war in Ukraine, and that will only mean further pressure. So the idea that the state can step back and leave families to struggle is just unthinkable.
The British government need to step up. The British government have planned, the Tories have planned to hike national insurance contributions. That needs to be stopped. That would put money directly back into the pockets of families and of workers. We need to see a windfall tax that actually delivers again money right into the pockets of families at this time. Those large corporations who have, profited massively over the last number of years, they need to now put money back into families who are struggling through the cost of living crisis. There are things that are within our gift, and unfortunately there are things that are not. But the reality for many people is today that they are sitting anxious and worried about how they're going to feed their families, heat their homes, keep their lights on, and unfortunately we are limited in our ability to do things in the executive because the DUP have walked away. However, what we can do, we will do. Deirdre has demonstrated that through her actions via her department, but also we will call again today on the British government to do everything they can to support people right now via the mechanisms which we've outlined.
Michelle, can I just also ask you, yesterday Gordon Lyons, the Economy Minister, said that the RHI scheme was going to continue as is because there's no executive. He says try to bring a proposal to the executive to work out the future of that. Can you explain what exactly happened there?
Yes, so let me clarify the position and make it crystal clear. The DUP have failed to close the RHI scheme, despite the fact that that was a commitment made in the New Decade New Approach agreement. Despite me personally repeatedly asking Gordon Lyons to bring a paper to the Executive to close down the scheme, what he did was bring a proposal to increase tariffs, something that is just absolutely ridiculous. The DUP again have walked away from the Executive, failing to close the RHI scheme. That is absolutely disgraceful.